Me, Myself, and I. And this story is by Archive of Our Own user, Luces. And this is Chapter 1, Bayley. How do you keep such a sunny disposition, Bayley? You always have a smile on your face. Whenever she was asked this question, Bayley always replied the same way. I find the good in everyone and everything. While this was true, she also had another means for maintaining a cheerful demeanor, one that she kept to herself. Bayley sighed as she hung her bag on her bedroom door. Training had been particularly challenging this morning, and Sasha had harassed and attacked her yet again at the NXT taping. She was tired, bruised, and on the verge of feeling like she wanted to give up and move back home. Maybe she wasn't cut out for this after all. She shook her head of such thoughts and headed toward the bathroom. She never took a shower in the locker room after training, and she never bothered to change before she left. She pulled the oversized tee she'd thrown over her gear up over her head and let it fall to the floor. The old sweats were the next to come off. They were thin from years of use, but she refused to toss them out because they were her lucky pair. She peeled off her gear from her skin, still a bit clammy with sweat. Once she was completely naked, she took a deep breath. It felt good to be out of clothes, to feel free of anything or anyone trying to hold her down. The cool air in the room sent a shiver through her skin. She looked down and noticed that her nipples had become quite hard. She turned on the shower as hot as it would go and stepped inside. She stood under the scalding water, allowing it to run down her back and over her shoulders. She cried out as it lit up her nerves and sent blood to the surface of her skin, turning her back bright pink. It hurt, but the pain was enjoyable to her. It was her way of releasing any hateful energy that was building up inside of her. There was enough negativity in the world already. She didn't want to add to it. Once her body became used to the water, she began her usual washing routine. The scent of lavender filled the small room as she lathered her hair and rinsed it out. She lathered her bath proof with vanilla-scented body wash and ran it up and down her arms, then down her chest. The roughness of the poof mixed with the soft slipperiness of the suds felt good, almost ticklish. She moved it lower, across the smooth skin of her stomach and down between her legs. She let out a quiet moan as it passed gently over her lips. Something inside of her began to stir. She finished washing up and put the bath proof aside for the moment, but didn't bother to rinse herself off completely. She slid her hands up her body until she reached her breast. She cupped them, feeling the weight of each of them in her hands. She rubbed her hands over her slippery breast, feeling her nipples under her fingers, moving her thumbs in slow circles over them. She watched them grow hard once more. She felt that hard, familiar, tingling sensation beginning between her legs, and it made her smile. She grabbed the shower head from its base and rinsed off the remaining suds. She spread her legs apart and aimed the spray at her navel. The hot water cascaded down between her legs. She let her head roll back as she felt the warmth gush between her lips and down the inside of her thighs. Bayley knew from experience that this was the time to sit down before her legs got too weak. She lowered herself to the shower floor and leaned back against the wall, stretching her legs out. Her pussy was slightly parted when she began to aim the water at it. The strong sensation of the water pounding down on her clit made her gasp. Soon her body began to respond to the stimulation. Her hips slowly rolled up and down against the stream as she flexed her pelvic muscles, intensifying the tension building inside of her. She slid her free hand down her stomach and scratched her wet skin as she dragged her fingers back up. Her breathing became faster, heavier, like she was almost gasping for air. The steam surrounding her made her feel lightheaded, like she was in a trance. She grabbed out her breast with her free hand and pinched the nipple between her fingers. Please, she whispered to herself, begging her climax to come. It came quickly, pulsing through her, making her body spasm. Bayley's back arched and her toes curled as the warm feeling of euphoria washed over her. She cried out loudly, releasing all the tension inside of her. She turned her head back to the side and took a deep breath. As she slowly let it out, her lips curled up in a smile. So, Bayley, how is it that you're always so happy? She was asked yet again, upon arriving at training the next morning. She smiled and laughed. I try to look for the good in everything, like the fact that my rent includes utilities.